The Hearts of Gold podcast is brought to you by the Grow and Share Network, produced by Thrill Media.
Welcome to Hearts of Gold. Today we have Hannah with us. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell us about your Girl Scout Gold Award project?
I would love to. My Girl Scout Gold Award project, completed back in 2018, was instilling patience, empathy, and understanding for neurologically diverse students of the Franklin Public School System. My main goals were to advance and enhance the established anti-bullying curriculum to be able to move forward with educating teachers on the nuances of what neurological diversity looks like in a curriculum and how that is incorporated into a classroom to make the world a safer and more equal space for kids like my little sister who struggle with socialization, and that creates such a big barrier when it comes to the actual realization of being able to make the world a better place for my little sister was my core goal. And instilling patience, empathy, and understanding in the Franklin Public Schools was the core of my Gold Award project.
Can you tell us what kind of programs or what you did to create this curriculum?
Absolutely. So with GSEMA, I was very grateful to have had excellent steps all along the way. Although I didn't complete my silver award, I worked very tirelessly alongside my incredible troop and the older girls in the high school troop back when I was a cadet. And they were the ones who helped me go from my values and my passion of mental health awareness, neurological diversity awareness, and anti-bullying, and create the avenue to which I decided to pursue this project. So I saw the obstacle of my younger sister facing bullying and unfair treatment in schools, and I explored avenues through using my resources wisely. As we know in Girl Scouts, that is one of the core testimonies to how we can make great change in our communities. So as I continued along with my project, I established a timing and action calendar of what I wanted to do with the steps and what I wanted the bigger picture to look like. Because with the Gold Award, I know I was so overwhelmed by how daunting it was at first. I still am a big procrastinator. So being able to take this giant daunting idea of this big project and break it down into the little tiny steps was how I really got the ball rolling. This was through joining the School Wellness Advisory Council in the Franklin Public School Systems. I was welcomed with open arms to going to school board events. I was privileged enough to speak on local public radio to my project. And every week I was able to get a teacher's note going out of school and meet with my mentors, as well as once a month meet with the School Wellness Advisory Council. These were individuals from all across the district, as well as being able to touch base with the health and wellness teachers, as well as the superintendent and assistant superintendent, were incredible helps to my project through letting me ask all of my questions. And that was generally the structure of how I got the ball moving. From there, the common core components of my Gold Award project were accumulation of neurologically diverse and generally diverse experiences in middle school curricula. I found books from all sorts of different backgrounds. One of my favorites was Chester and Gus. It was my little sister's favorite at the time. And upon donating it to one of the schools, I had one of the principals tell me that they had a student with a service dog that was in the school. So they made sure to give that book to the child with the service dog. And although my project didn't necessarily have the exact precision that I sought out for, where I wanted originally to make my own curriculum, I learned a lot along the way, which I thought was a big part of the Gold Award, where I originally had set out thinking, okay, I want to make my own classroom. I want to make my own idea. I was getting a little bit ahead of the game, as we do in high school when we're starting these big projects. But along the way, as I was working with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, the health and wellness teachers, as well as multiple parent support groups along the way who I had established contact with when I was building my Silver Award and journeys. Those were the steps that I took in order to really create the shape that was my project, whose three components were collecting diverse books and distributing them alongside the three public middle schools. I was an active member and student representative in the local community and in the committees and the parent groups in my community. And lastly, I created a nuanced curriculum, which was Socratic inspired with critical thinking aspects, having an engaging classroom where we learned the values of patience, empathy, and understanding. And that was the curriculum that I instilled into the Franklin Public School System, which I'm very grateful it still is there today. They still every year have Mental Health Awareness Day, which they adopted my curriculum into as well, in addition to the anti-bullying curriculum. As you can probably tell from now, I can talk about this all day. So I'm trying not to ramble too much, but there's so many incredible lessons that I've gained from this project and so many little pieces that I think can bring about a lot of wisdom for future Gold Award recipients, for young girls aspiring towards this project. So I'm very excited about continuing to hear more about what the Hearts of Gold podcast is interested in hearing about from my story, because I think that there are a lot of really great lessons to be found in those of us who have achieved the Gold Award in the past.
You mentioned that you did this project back in 2018. So you were way ahead of the curve of recognizing these challenges in our school at the level that we are aware of them today. What is one of the things that you learned that maybe you can share with our audience to build that empathy and understanding in our lives?
Yes, so the curriculum was based in the classroom around the idea of understanding different perspectives. This was the cornerstone of my diverse curriculum of assorted books throughout different stories of athletes, through students with housing insecurity, students with different variations of immigration status. These were the texts that I was collecting in high school as I wanted to show kids, particularly, I was interested in showing my peers what they had struggled to see, which was how other people were struggling. A lot of times we can be very caught up in the moment, especially when we're kids. You know, it's a big, beautiful world out in front of us. We just want to see everything that we have to grab. But when we really take time to sit and think about the ways in which other people are experiencing the world differently than ourselves, this is where the books and the curriculum came into play. My health curriculum was a four corner style interactive lesson plan that I established. I've always been a huge fan of teaching and leading the younger girls in Girl Scouts. I discovered my passion for teaching, and later on I'll talk a little bit more about my passion for political science and law that I found through this project. But a lot of where I got these values of patience, empathy, and understanding came from the Girl Scout promise and the Girl Scout law. These were my applications of it. So I think that the best way for us to look at where we can make a change is to use these documents, because Juliette Gordon Low and the other incredible women, such as yourself, who have really paved the way for us to make change in our communities. We have so many incredible resources to look to build our values and our core selves at, in order to then grow and make change later on. The values of patience, empathy, and understanding came from me wanting other students to slow down, take a moment, and see my little sister. I felt as though many people were looking at her, and particularly when it comes to disabilities, I noticed so many people would look and observe instead of asking, which is where my curriculum came into play with the interactive classroom setting of being able to ask each other questions, learn, you see this differently than I do. Oh, we're both right, but there's also no right answer. We're all just learning about each other. And these are the ways I think that the lessons of my curriculum in the Franklin Public Schools can be applicable anywhere. And I have taken with me now, since I've been welcomed in many wonderful classrooms from nurseries all the way to university lectures, I have taken these values and I've applied them to every classroom that I go into. Because the Gold Award for me wasn't just a single project, it was the manifestation of 12 years of Girl Scouting and the continuation of where I wanted my career to be.
What special memory do you have from your project?
I'd say I definitely have a couple that come to mind, but one of the ones that really stood out to me that was so special had to do with when I followed up with the health and wellness teachers. There were three public middle schools in Franklin, and therefore they had three teachers that I would touch base with, that I taught up with, where I actually it was really cool. When I was in high school, I taught my old health teacher. So that was a part of the Gold Award project that I remember the GSA EMA Council was impressed with, was how I went up and I taught the teachers. And that was a really fun experience for me because it was very accepting. And it was that environment where I had the opportunity to really build and grow. And I'm just very yes, excited to be able to share because, especially when I mention having that connection to my story, having that connection to my values, to my project, to my sister, came to fruition when I was teaching up. Because when I got the privilege and opportunity to teach my own teachers, it broke down those barriers for me. That's what found my passion and my self-confidence for pursuing political science and social justice in college. Was I was very, very nervous, very shy before I did my Gold Award. And as I mentioned, all those little steps along the way built me up to pursue a career in law that I'm now. 10 years ago, I never would have seen this coming, but the Gold Award was really what built that for me. And when it comes to the actual memories, I recall specifically going back and hearing about three cadet girls in the middle school class. It was the sixth grade classroom. And they heard about how the project that they were working on and the lesson that they were learning from, the presentation, the pamphlets were created by a Girl Scout. That really was special to me because of all of the incredible role models and leaders that I've had. My troop leaders from GSEMA Council and my local Franklin community alike, as well as all of the incredible role models in the high school troop I was a part of, paved the way for me, the way I was able to then, I felt, pave the way for these girls to aspire towards earning their gold award someday. Where, as much as with these projects, I wanted to create substantial and statistically calculable change, we all want that little aspect of like, okay, what are we really doing here? And that's a big part of the Gold Award is tracking which parts of it are sustainable. That helped me a lot in college when I did some research as well. It's fantastic for anybody who's interested in going into humanities, going into research, but nonetheless, there was nothing more fulfilling than that feeling of knowing that I was the inspiration to other girls that I had at that age. So that was really one of the most heartwarming memories that I associate with my Gold Award project.
What was something you learned about the Gold Award project process itself that surprised you and might be helpful for future Gold Award Girl Scouts?
What surprised me the most was definitely how much change is going to be involved with your project. In the GSEMA Council, I had a wonderful advisor who I met with also on a frequent basis to check in, touch base. How's your project going? How can I make it easier for you? How's this part going? And a part of the Gold Award that I think it's similar to school, where you get out of it what you put into it. I put my whole heart, my whole soul, my everything into it, and I've reaped incredible benefits because of it. With my Gold Award, I had to change a lot. I completed it around the 2008 time period, but I didn't actually complete the project until 2019, 2020, with, as we know, the pandemic. That created a huge blip for a lot of individuals who graduated during my class. I made sure when I was in middle school, I looked up so much to the girls in my high school troop. I thought they were the coolest. They still are. They gave me the best advice for pursuing my gold award. None of them, nobody could have expected a global pandemic. What they did expect was change to be had, as well as conflicting scheduling and wanting to have as much time as you can to be able to have those little changes and all those little obstacles. Because when I was distributing the material that I had collected, I made my own flyer. I was studying graphic design at Franklin High School at the time. So I created my own curriculum materials that I was distributing for Mental Health Awareness Day. That unfortunately, in the spring of 2020, was not able to be completed. But nonetheless, the school was still able to have those materials and those resources. So when it comes to looking at your Gold Award project, the big, the biggest takeaway is look at what will stand the test of time. Whether that be the values that you instill from where you see change needs to be had, or if it's also looking at the bigger picture. One of the coolest Gold Award stories I found was how paper straws, the whole movement of paper straws came from a Gold Award Girl Scout. That blew my mind in middle school. My mom showed me that, and I thought that was incredible. And that was the story, one of the many stories, as well as the girls in my Franklin troop, who inspired me to be able to look at the change that I wanted to see in the world. I saw the unfair treatment my little sister was experiencing by peers. I saw in middle school myself how the kids that got bullied traditionally were the kids that I was able to discern as neurologically diverse, but other kids weren't able to make those connections yet. Where I saw kids that needed an extra helping hand, my peers saw kids who might not have been the ones that they wanted to hang out with necessarily or extend a helping hand to, which is why I started with my values. I built from there and I found my career out of it. I've gotten so much out of this project. So that would be the biggest takeaway I would give to future Girl Scouts is getting specific into what is it that you care about? What are the values that you hold near and dear to your heart? You can look at our texts of the Girl Scout Law, the Girl Scout Promise, and from there, where do you see this happening? My curriculum of I established the books. I even had received donations from Jeff Kinney from the Unlikely Bookstore, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. He donated books to my cause, which was a huge pat on the back for me in high school. At the time, I'm sure some high schoolers today can definitely relate to this. Just talking on the phone to people, just calling people and talking on the phone. That was scary at first. Writing an email to one of my favorite childhood authors was very daunting. And it paid off. And I was able to, because of his help, distribute those resources accordingly. And I was so grateful for that opportunity. And these are the ways I see future girls taking inspiration from the project and individuals who themselves are trying to make a change in their community. We can start really small or we can start big. And what I did was I started big and I saw, here are the changes that I want to be made. Everybody told me, like, it's a big project. Are you sure you want to do this? Like, you don't have to do it this big. And I knew that because it was something I was passionate about, because it was really where my heart was, that it was going to be a project that was worthwhile. And now we see a slew of book bannings around the United States. And my project holds true with the values and the capacity to have distributed diverse book material as a kid was very important and is now more important than ever. So this is where I see future scouts going forward with their gold awards and their silver awards and their bronze awards, being able to discern from their values where are the tangible applications of this in my community. And that is where you will be able to make the change.
You've touched on how Girl Scouts and the Gold Award has led you to where you are today. Can you tell us a little bit more about that journey over the last few years and how you've grown and determined what that path is and how the Girl Scouts and Gold Award influenced that as you went along?
Absolutely. I knew from, as you could probably foreshadow a little bit, My heart has always been in teaching. I, from back when I think I was a junior, was when I started helping out because of all the opportunities I had in Girl Scouts with my little sister's troop. I think the first time I taught was when I was a junior, and I taught the first aid badge with my sister's brownie troop. That really continued to, the older I've gotten, the more I've fallen in love with Girl Scouts. And that is continuing as a lifetime member 4 years after high school. In high school, around this time, I had the privilege of also joining the Girl Scouts of Southeastern New England at Salve Regina for the International Girl Scout Leadership Conference. Also, so scary. I was the only freshman girl that went. All the other, it was usually a big senior trip, but all this work that I was doing with them on my Gold Award inspired me. And when I'd gone there, and it functioned very similarly to a large thinking day. I was always a big fan of the thinking day. And so that as I took these lectures with UNICEF, it opened my eyes to the applications of my teaching values on a global level. And it was the combination of the empowerment I got from my Gold Award and the incredible support I had along the way, in addition to the vast need I see in the world for change to be made, that I have shaped my ambitions and my career out of. Because of my Gold Award, as well as all of the other community service work, all of the after school activities that I found, my passions for, again, mostly through Girl Scouts, I found my love for political science. I used to think that I wouldn't be smart enough to be a lawyer. I wouldn't be talkative, brave enough to be a lawyer. Those fears faded with every time I saw a confident woman being successful. And particularly in Girl Scouts, it debunks our predisposed ideas of what success looks like. And understanding the hundreds of ways Scouts all over the world find success, they view success, they implement change. Girl Scouts for me is sustainable community development, which is where my career has now really stumbled into and is going to continue to push towards. Because with my Gold Award, I found a passion for social justice and travel as well with my GSEMA travel troupe, which was incredible. I sold cookies and went to the Grand Canyon. Any younger scouts looking at this, highly, highly recommend joining a travel troupe. It was incredible. But nonetheless, building up that confidence inspired me to, with the help of my mom, who also helped me get my Gold Award, look online and find colleges that matched my values. We see some familiarity here with the Gold Award, where I knew, okay, I'm thinking either teaching or law, somewhere maybe politics. I knew that these were my interests because nobody knows what they're doing for the rest of their life at 17. Total myth. And for also any aspiring first generation college students out there too, you do not have to go into college with a major. You do not have to because a lot of students change it. So just going at the perspective of choosing a college based on where your values are and where you see yourself being, I knew I wanted a school that had a lot of community service because that was one of my favorite parts of Girl Scouts and where I found a lot of my bravery and found a lot of my self-esteem. So when I found a college that I'd never even heard of when I was searching online, I was searching the region of New York and I was searching social justice programs. And after applying for the OSNAM Scholars Program at St. John's University, in addition to the merit-based scholarships I got and the OSNAM Scholars Scholarship, as well as the supplemental ones I earned at Franklin High School, I accumulated over $160,000 worth of scholarships, as
Wow.
well as the opportunity to travel the world. I conducted mutual aid. It was an introductory aspect of field research. It was really more so just us being in the community. It was part of, I was learning Spanish to be able to use in my career as an aspiring attorney, because there were a lot of individuals in my community of Queens who spoke Spanish. So I was starting to learn Spanish. We went to Puerto Rico, where we conducted mutual aid. that followed with leadership training in Paris. We spent a week studying and researching with the Vincentian Institute of Social Action and the Sisters of Charity in Paris, which was phenomenal. Also, something I could talk about for years, followed by my work in Rome, where we lived right next to the Vatican. And I also continually had the privilege of working in the communities I was living in. That was a part of the program, was the supplemental scholarship was essentially paying for the amount of time that you were doing in service, where I was able to learn cafe art and latte art, espresso art, an entirely owned and operated refugee kiosk where I, in high school and middle school, was learning a little bit of Latin, a little bit of French. And then in college, I was learning a little bit of Spanish. And when I was in this kiosk, and same thing when I was working at the soup kitchen in Rome, I didn't speak any Italian, but it's these skills that helped me communicate. And going back to kind of that bridge of the Gold Award to where my career is now, I really want to strongly emphasize the building blocks that this project had for me and this project's had for so many other scouts along the years. Because in high school, I went from thinking I was too shy and too even unintelligent. I was insecure in high school. These are the things that built my confidence for myself. I did not think I was enough to be a lawyer. And now I have just graduated with my bachelor's degree in government and politics with a minor in social justice at St. John's University. Just as an overachiever, I have half of a master's degree in international relations too. Unfortunately, the grants for work study have been cut in the past year, along with right here, I have my upward bound grad cap that I decorated. Oh, there we go. This is my graduation cap, basically showing the respect that I have for my students my former students, they no longer had the opportunity to continue with their first generation aspirations, along with all these cuts to education we're having right now. And that is where I'm at right now, pursuing a career as a public service attorney, not yet to go into law school, but nonetheless making my mark in my local community as much as I can through teaching, through public administration service, and really setting my roots where I am. And that's what I had through the Gold Award was this project in Girl Scouts all through middle school and high school set me up for this.
Wow, that's a great story. I'm super curious because we get lots of questions about how the Gold Award and scholarships match. And you mentioned that it wasn't just the Gold Award, it was also the community service. Can you share some of your thought processes and what you did when you were doing scholarship research?
Absolutely. That was a lot of the work that I did with Upward Bound. I'm a big fan of looking for the specifics when you look for scholarships. I didn't earn the Girl Scout Gold Award scholarship, the traditional one, but I found the one that was best for me. My passions, my values, my interests were in social justice. I knew that I come from a police family. I received a $2,000 semester scholarship just for being the daughter of a first responder at St. John's. So the idea is when you think of scholarships, a lot of times we can think, okay, give me all the money I can get. But instead, it's better to really think about where do you want to be? What are you doing in college? And then finding work study, finding scholarships at the school, finding internships, fellowships, and apprenticeships. Those three are not talked about as much as I think they should be in high school because they're great building blocks and paid opportunities. If you find those early on, they can really set you up for that success throughout college because scholarships aren't a one and done thing. Similar to work, you're going to consistently be working on finding more, finding ones for you, applying, not getting them. It's very similar to the whole college process altogether. Leading with your values and your morals is a lot of what my teaching kind of encompasses.
What else would you like to share with the audience?
I just really want to hone in with everything I have been going off about relative to leading with yourself, understanding yourself, who you are, And learning to really love yourself is such an important first step that you will continue to build through these projects because that is what these projects are for. They're not just for you to serve your community, but they're for you to find yourself in the process. And that is really, I think, the tale of my story. I was able to make a sustainable project that has stood the test of time. I was able to make a project that gave me the self-confidence and leadership skills that I'm still using today, that made me unrecognizable at some of the service sites I went to in high school. Being able to know who you are is the best first step for any scout ambitious on making the world a better place.
And I realized I forgot to mention that Girl Scouts has also taken you across the country. Can you tell us about your California experience?
Absolutely. This past year, as I graduated from St. John's University, I had the opportunity to join Girl Scouts of Northern California as a camp counselor at Camp Botheen. So I now have experience both as a scout myself and working with a Girl Scout council, which was an incredible privilege. That was so much fun to do just by nature of seeing all the cool Girl Scouts. Just like when I was in Scouts myself, there's nothing better than getting a group of smart, driven, passionate individuals together to be able to share ideas. I will never forget, I just was able to touch base again with my travel troop and my Girl Scout troop mentors from back when. And when I was expressing all the incredible growth and opportunities I had, I actually brought JoJo, the VPO over here at GSEMA. I saw her, the tears coming into her eyes when I was telling her about like how much this troop and these opportunities have changed my life because those were what set me out to explore. I went from most of my family has never even left Massachusetts, New England, and I have now been to more countries than my father has been to US states. That was a joke that I used to love making on the college tour because having those opportunities, they just come to you when you know who you are. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have worked alongside GSEMA, Girl Scouts of Northern California. In my university scholars program, I befriended a Girl Scout from Chile. There are scouts everywhere, friends to be made everywhere, and lessons to be learned everywhere. And that was being able to connect back with the fundamentals, the Girl Scout law, Girl Scout promise with Girl Scouts of Northern California has now really set me up for success in being able to move forward with these leadership skills and all of these professional development opportunities I got in working with children all across the world.
How do you make your s'mores?
Rotisserie chicken style is what I said at Camp Botheen. That was always one of my favorite dinner time conversations. You got to have it on the stick perfectly and just slowly rotate, not touching the flame. It's going to be crispy on the outside, golden brown, mushy on the inside.
That's the way I like them too.
Oh, yeah? Not the torch method so much.
Nope. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Make sure to click follow or subscribe so you always know when new episodes are released. Power your passion and conquer your challenges.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to be on the show to share your story with how you earned your Gold Award, reach out and send an email to growandshare@outlook.com. Be sure to catch up on our previous shows on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, as well as view the full video versions at youtube.com/Cheryl M. Robinson. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.